of the evening. Can we please welcome Suzanne and Rolfe?
So, good evening. I've come to talk to you tonight about Krampus, this devilish figure that exists in the Alpine region. So that's eastern Austria, lower Germany, and northern Italy. So, if you don't know who Krampus is or what Krampus is, the Krampus come out on the week of December the 6th, before or on St. Nicholas night. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about St. Nicholas in a while. So, Krampus are these really, they're kind of Austrian men who come out and they dress up and, and they look like this. Okay, so I'm going to go through the anatomy of a Krampus. Okay, so basically, Krampus Lauf is a Krampus run. So these men come out and they run down the village and they run down Austrian towns, Austrian cities, and it's not a passive festival at all. You stand on the side and they come up and they whip you, okay, and they come and scare you. And it's fucking frightening. It's fucking scary, okay. So, on our left here are very traditional Krampus, and these are real skins. It's a vegetarian or vegan fucking nightmare. If you're vegan, don't go, okay, because it smells really goaty. It absolutely stinks. There's no fun fur with these guys, okay. And they have these masks, and I'm going to talk a bit about the masks later. And they have bells, and they actually use their bells to make sounds. Sadly, my video didn't work, but they jig along, making different sounds with their bells. And the birches are there to whip. They're lovers usually. It's a bit of BDSM. I'm really lowering the tone of this talk. Okay, so sorry about Pythagoras. All right. And here is your more modern day Krampus. And this would probably be a bit more of a city run or city lauf, which is more of a hellfire festival. And they run through the towns with their fire. The Krampus, we go every year. My friend Lita's in the audience. We go every year, and we explore different towns. And some Krampus lauf are quite tame and fun. Some do kind of honour to heavy metal. We went to one town where they played heavy metal throughout the whole city. Rammstein, I don't know if you know who Rammstein are, they're a heavy metal German-bound Mein Mutter. It was like all through the town. And some do plays. I'm going to talk a bit about the plays later on. So you can't see it here. Krampus may also have a basket which is called a klaxon, and they're for naughty children. So St. Nicholas is a bit like your modern day, he's your old-fashioned Father Christmas, but it's a night of sharing gifts. But Krampus offers a twist, and I'm going to explore that in a moment. Okay, so I'm just going to play this little bit of video. Alright, so you might be asking, what is this child doing with this Krampus? It's a bit, would you probably call this social services in England? Okay, and this happens a lot. The Krampus tend to whip the adults, but they make friends with the children. So we need to explore this a little bit further. So to understand Krampus, we need to understand who St. Nicholas is. So St. Nicholas was the saint of miracles, the saint of good children. And through some of the villages in Austria and in the Alpine region, they have what they call miracle plays. So St. Nicholas, saint of miracles, would save good children. So there's some quite interesting mythology around him. He saved 3 young virgins, young girls, from prostitution. The father was so poor that he was going to have to sell them. So St. Nicholas went into their room at night and he put money in their shoes, and they had enough money to grow up, so he saved them from prostitution. There was also another miracle play where 3 young educated boys went to an inn and they got chucked up by the landlord, put in the stew. St. Nicholas turned up the next day and saved them. He put them back together and berated the landlord. Okay, so he was the saviour, and I think to really make the point here of good children, he saved virgins and he saved educated boys. So what are we thinking about naughty children? Are you naughty this evening? Okay. I'm naughty. Okay. So, to decide whether you're a virgin or you're naughty, okay, or you're educated, in Austria this still happens. It's called an interrogation catechism, and it's part of the Catholic festival. So what happens is that the priest or a good man of a village will dress up as St. Nicholas and go and do a house visit. Behind him he has his entourage of angels and a Krampus. So what happens is that the child has to say their prayers or recite their Catholic lessons. And if they've been really good and they can say their prayers really well, then they'll get a nice present from St. Nicholas. If they've been really naughty, their Krampus takes them. And he takes them off, and he gets his birch, and he puts them in his klaxon, and off they go. And it's a form of saying, well, actually, you need to be good. Okay? So, it's dying out a little bit at the house visit, but in some areas, they still go around. Okay? So, and if you go to Austria, as me and my friend do every year, when you're in restaurants, St. Nicholas and the Krampus come through the restaurants and sometimes give you a whipping if you're lucky. So that's your interrogation catechism. So Krampus, or the Night of St. Nicholas, goes back to around the 14th century. And I just thought I'd just take a little step back in history, because these are old-fashioned Krampus and Purton masks, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about Purter in a moment. So up until about the 70s, the masks were very much wooden, they were very hand-carved, some of them were quite flat, and a lot of them were used for the miracle plays that I'm talking about. And these are, if you ever go to Austria, I do really recommend going to the folklore museums, because these are now collectible and they're treasured and they're actually really, really beautiful. So the Purter mask is down here, and these old Krampus masks, and probably the Skelly mask over there was used in one of the miracle plays. So there's still some of the miracle plays are still acted out. It all changed in the early 70s, where an artist from Munich called Sepp Lang, who was unemployed, and he decided that he wanted to modernise the Krampus masks, and this is one of his earlier masks. And he actually took his look from other African masks. So you can still see that there's the same, there's the fur, there's the horns, and there's the different colours, but it really updated and set the new look of the modern mask. And these are some masks that I took last year, and as you can see from the earlier masks, they've got really a lot more scary. And to the English eye, or non-Alpine eye, you might think that Krampus all look the same. But the more you go, you'll see that the groups have taken on their own look. And a group of Krampus is called a pass. So pass means group. So they all have different identities, and they all have different looks. and they all have different behaviours. It gets fun, it really does. So these are lovely. So Krampus has been in the psyche of the Alpine region for a long time, and these are called Krampus cards. And they were very popular at the end of the 19th century, early 20th century. And everyone would send each other a Krampus card coming up to December the 6th. And as you can see down the bottom there says Gruß from Krampus, which means greetings from Krampus. And in the cards, they generally are good little girls. And in the back, you've always got a naughty little boy. You never see it the other way around. The BDSM thing seemed to exist before the war. As you can see, there's a Krampus flirting with a young lady. And the BDSM thing really does sort of kind of happen in the parades as well. Quite often the Krampus that are young Austrian men will come up and they'll start whipping their girlfriends, and it all gets a bit hectic. And I'm an older woman, but I still get whipped as well. And my friend Melita over there, she loves it. She's up there doing that, trying to get whipped. And I'm going to talk a bit more about that a bit later. And we do come home and we're absolutely ripped to pieces. So there we are. So there's a lovely, fantastic bit of excitement standing in these Krampus runs. Krampus has had a bit of a bad time in the past. Martin Luther, he was a Protestant, tried to get rid of Krampus. He wanted to get rid of the devilish creatures and have the Christ kind, which is an angelic woman. I mean, how boring is that? And the Krampus stood their ground and stayed there. Hitler didn't want Krampus either. It was a Catholic festival, and of course he didn't like Christianity, so he tried to get rid of them. And he, in Berchtesgaden, where the eagle's nest was, and he wasn't very nice to the people in Berchtesgaden either. He got his cronies to shoot a lot of the people that lived there so he could build his eagle's nest. And they've done a very nice big fuck you, actually. So this is Berchtesgaden last year that we went to. And these are a very different type of Krampus. They're a bit more, you've got your St. Nicholas in the front there. But there's coming up to the winter solstice, I think they celebrate the land a lot more, so there's a bit of a pagan theme going on there. So these guys wrap themselves up in straw, and as you can see, there's the masks there, and it's absolutely wonderful. They dance around Berchtesgaden, the city, and absolutely wonderful, and you can hear their bells, so absolutely brilliant. Another enemy of Krampus these days, modern enemy, is health and safety. I mean, Austria struggles with marauding Krampus, okay, that's gone rogue. In Cariglia, police recorded a number of violent incidences this year in the run-up, blah, 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 blah. I mean, you know, if you're going to take your kid to a parade where you've got tons of Austrian men dressed up in fur and horns and masks drinking beer, what do you expect? I mean, it's like, God. They do have child-friendly Krampus, and it's really boring. It's really boring, really boring. So we went to one and we didn't go back. Okay, so anyway, there's still some wild Krampus going on. Now these guys are really interesting. They look like Krampus, but they're not related to Krampus. They're called the Perchter. And these guys come out around the same time, December the 6th, and they are the tribe of the witch Perchter. Now, Perchter is like the goddess of evilness she'll come and tell you off if you don't do your housework properly. So if you haven't spun your wool properly, if you haven't washed up properly, she will come and slit your tummy open and eat your guts. So you need to be really good, okay? And these guys are her tribe called the Purton. Now you'll see down the bottom here the Hiller Pass. So there's a lot of different passes around the town of Rattenberg and from the villages, and they come out and these and they're absolutely enormous, and they don't stop. So if you're standing there, they'll just keep coming and you end up squashed under a hail bale. But they're absolutely brilliant, and they're led by a hex, which is the witch. And for 3 days they drum and the bounds of the village, of the farmland, and then what they're doing is protecting the land from the evil spirits. But I have a little video here, and I'll just show you just a minute of it. Okay. Dan, it's a really fantastic video. Okay, Tim's going to go and try and play it. Okay. No. All right, that's a real shame. But they're very similar, you know. That it's really magical, and you can see it online. If you look up the Seder Pass, they do videos, and they do a lot of interesting short films on their ritual. But yeah, I'm a bit gutted not be able to show you. Anyway, all right. If you don't want to go to Austria, then, or Italy or Germany, or see any of this, but you would like a little experience of Krampus and a nice experience, then I do recommend going to Whitby. I've always felt a little bit apprehensive because I think Krampus really belongs in the Alps. It's an alpine ritual. And it really does belong there, and I guess the only place I think it really can work in Britain is Whitby, and it's run by my friend Elaine, who's up there in the far right, and they do an amazing job of reenacting it, and they have the interrogation catechism, and people really dress up. I would just say, it's a bit mean, is a little bit elderly. It hasn't kind of got the young Austrians kind of going mental at you. They do sort of shuffle up the road a little bit. And Melita, she got this Krampus to whip her. She was going, whip me, whip me, whip me, whip me, like that. This Krampus like, whip her like that. And then later on, when he took his Krampus mask off, it was this poor elderly old man. And he looked really shocked. And his wife was giving her a really dirty look. She was like eviling at her. And so it was a bit, so you have to be a little bit careful up at Whitby. But if you don't want to fly to Austria and you do want a taste of Krampus, then I do recommend going up there. And it is good fun. They have a Krampus ball, and the effort that goes into it is absolutely wonderful. And they still do this, sharing, getting the children used to scary beasts and making sure that their children are going to be good for the rest of the year up there. So yeah, good little children. So that's my little sharing of one of my daft holidays that I like to go to. So thank you for looking at my slides. And I just hope you've been good. Bless you. Thank you.